Alright boys, so today I have a new Solar Warlock melee build for you guys. This is easily my favorite Solar Warlock build to use. I've been having a lot of fun with Claws of Ahamkara and the Incinerator snap, and with this build we're going to try to get infinite Incinerator snaps as well as cause a lot of ignitions. Solar Fulmination was just fixed, so it no longer causes that self damage, so we're going to be taking advantage of that as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into this build. So for this build I have Well of Radiance as my super, although you could use Daybreak if you wanted to, but Daybreak in my opinion is just so cheeks now, so I don't recommend using it. We're also using the Incinerator snap. Now I highly recommend using this melee over the Celestial Fire melee because it applies way more scorch and has a much more AoE effect, and we're going to be playing pretty close range with this build, so I recommend using this one. Although for higher end content I would say use Celestial Fire. And we're also taking advantage of these solar grenades paired with the Touch of Flame aspect and with the Icarus dash. As for our fragments, we're using Ember of Torches, Ember of Searing, Ember of Ashes, and Ember of Char. Ember of Torches will allow us to become radiant upon landing a melee attack, which is also how we're going to be able to proc Raise the Precision, the brand new seasonal mod. Ember of Searing will grant us melee energy upon defeating scorched targets, which we're going to scorch tons and tons of targets because of the Incinerator snap, as well as Incandescent on my SMG. Ember of Ashes will allow us to apply more scorch stacks, which will eventually lead to more ignitions. And whenever there is an ignition, that ignition will spread scorch due to Ember of Char, which all leads back into defeating those scorched targets to generate melee energy and eventually proccing another ignition, and this just keeps the cycle going, and it's absolutely insane. For my loadout, I'm using my crafted Callous mini tool with enhanced Grave Robber and enhanced Incandescent. I highly recommend using this weapon for this build because of the nature of it. You know, Grave Robber will allow us to refill the magazine upon getting a melee kill, which we're going to be doing a lot of anyway because this is a melee build. And Incandescent will spread scorch to nearby enemies upon getting kills with this weapon, which will lead to more ignitions and generating more melee energy. As for my stats, I'm using 60 resilience, which is really good now because of the resilience changes, which provide a damage resistance buff. I'm using 100 recovery, or it's 111, but that's just because my armor is so well rolled. I don't have any recovery mods on my armor set. And this is going to sound like overkill, but I also have 100 strength. Now the reason for this is because there is times where I might mess up my gameplay loop with this build, which is where my 100 strength comes in because I want to generate that melee energy very quickly just to get my build going again. Now if you're able to pull it off perfectly, which is if you're then a god tier gamer if you can, then maybe you can put some of those strength points into discipline, but I found that having 100 strength is just more fun, I guess. It's just a safety net just in case you do mess up your build and you're able to generate some melee energy if you don't have any melee energy to do so. My exotic armor piece of choice for this build is Claws of Ahamkara. Now you guys already know that this is one of my favorite exotics in the game. Getting kills with that first initial melee charge will grant us melee energy because we're going to be scorching those targets, which will allow us to fill up that second melee charge of Claws of Ahamkara, which then we can use to then proc another melee charge. This is a really good exotic for spamming melee attacks and melee builds. Now moving on to my mods, I'm using Melee Wellmaker, Seeking Wells, Elemental Charge, Heavy Handed, Impact Induction, Solar Fulmination, and Raise the Precision. Melee Wellmaker will allow us to generate solar elemental wells from using our melee ability, which will then track to us because of Seeking Wells and allow us to become Charger Light because of Elemental Charge, which will allow us to then proc Heavy Handed, which will grant us half of our melee energy in return when using our melee attack. Side note, this only procs on the last melee charge when using Claws of Ahamkara. For example, if you have two fully charged melee attacks with Claws, you have to use both of them in order to reap the benefits of Heavy Handed. Impact Induction will allow us to generate grenade energy upon doing damage with our melee attack. Solar Fulmination will cause those ignitions to do more damage in a greater area, and it's nice because since it got fixed, now it doesn't cause that self damage anymore. And Raise the Precision will allow us to generate more ignitions upon getting a precision final blow while radiant with a solar weapon. As you guys can see, this entire build is about spreading scorch to then eventually cause ignitions, to then spread more scorch to generate more melee energy, to then cause more ignitions. It's a very well-rounded build and the gameplay loop is fairly simple. I've been loving this build a lot, and honestly this is my go-to build whenever I want to use Solar 3.0. I know I want to try some other ones. I want to use Dawn Chorus, and I want to try making a nice Sunbracers build, but this build is just so fun in my opinion because the snap is very satisfying. It sounds cool, it looks cool, and it allows those ignitions to happen very frequently. So try this build out, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. It's a very fun build. You guys will have tons of fun using it, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Deuces.